Hello, and welcome to Augmented Teachings. This is a place where we talk about things that inspire us to think better, feel better, and in turn be better. I am so excited for our episode today. We are here with a special guest, Caitlin Jones. She is a mother, a local business owner, a wife, an activist, and my friend. We are so excited. Today, we are going to be talking about politics, spirituality, life, humanity, and so much more. Thank you for joining us.
Trust in the journey. Let your spirit soar with augmented teachings. We'll open the door.
I'm so excited that you're here, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Augmented Teachings. It's an honor to have you join Todd and I for the show. Before we dive into this episode, tell us a little about yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're about, and what you want to share today.
I am the co-founder and executive director of 111 Hope Foundation, a local 501c3 nonprofit that has several different programs, but the two that we decided to hunker down on and focus on this year is Hungry Hearts, which focuses on the homeless and unhoused population in the high desert, and Boost the Youth, which has a plethora of services for different fiscally impacted youth in our region. Nice. On top of that, thank you. I am also an elected delegate for Assembly District 39.
Fantastic.
Yes, and I'm
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's my first year, and I'm really excited. I'm also a communications director for Desert Democracy Project and Democratas del Pueblo Club.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
So.
Awesome.
Got a few toes in the water.
Yeah,
well, I'm so glad that you're here. I
you.
first met you not that long ago, but I heard you speak at a women's empowerment convention. And girl, let me tell you, I fell in love with everything that you had to share. And I went home and I literally told my fiance, I'm like, we need to talk to this girl.
Right.
She's on fire. She's out in the community. She's doing so much. And I've been following you ever since. And because of some of the organizations that we're in and some of the networking groups and everything, we get to do cool stuff together.
Yes.
And a lot of it is out for the community. And we are all about humanity first. And so it's not just humanity and all of the things for the privileged, right?
Right.
And for the housed and all of that. So anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Right.
But
I want to talk to you because I looked at your Facebook page, right? And you are a Democratic Christian, correct?
Yes,
And you get a lot of blowback from that, don't you?
I do.
You do.
I do.
And you have a Bible verse in here on your Facebook page, right? Isaiah 54:17. All right.
Yes.
Promises divine protection and vindication for God's servants, stating that no weapon formed against them will prosper and they will condemn every accusing tongue. So one of the problems that we have in this society is a lot of people that are religious think they're pro-God. And I will tell you right now, I've been a near-death experience researcher for the last 12 years. On the other side of the veil, there's no such thing as religion. There's only love. And there is a form of justice that God has created long before the earth even cooled, before there was the first Christian, right? That was created by God to keep everybody equal, because God already knows it's not for God's first rodeo. God already knows that justice isn't always equal. So God created something called the past life review, where you go through your past life review and you are judged based on how you treat others only. That's it. God doesn't care about, this law, this statute. God does not care about that. God does not get the minutia of that. It's how you treated others. Did you put humanity first, or did you put a law that destroys families first?
Exactly.
And that's all you get judged on. So all these people that make pinky swears to Jesus aren't going to get a bypass on this past life review. They have to go through it full force with all the repercussions of their actions and who they voted for. They vote for hate and punishment, or love and acceptance.
Exactly.
And there's no bypass on that. And there's a second contingent on that, and that is karma. So God created karma to keep us all equal, no matter what. Doesn't care if you're king or the servant. There's always karma involved. So when you realize that you had disparages against certain ethnicities or genders or whatever, right? Rich and poor, you will find yourself going where you overly scrutinized in the past So you learn through firsthand knowledge of the suffering that you previously had dismissed.
Through reincarnation,
Through
right?
reincarnation, your soul is not bound to one ethnicity or one gender.
Right.
And it moves around as needed so you can learn unconditional love.
100%.
And because there are two purposes of life, and the first one that we always talk about is working that puzzle of unconditional love. And how do we know that? How do we know how to be truly unconditional until we've experienced the wide, spectrum of those experiences? How can we fully know firsthand until we go through it ourselves?
Right.
And so that's why through those past life reviews, we are able to see the deficiency of our soul and our ego and what we did. And, we were talking about like our life path numbers and things like that the last time we were having a meeting, and that kind of will tell us how old or young our soul is. Right. It's not always about like the age, but it's about the development, right?
Right. So as a soul ages, it sees the world differently. As it goes through its tumultuous system of checks and balances, it will have an alignment with love and compassion rather than fear and judgment. So that's why you find a lot of younger souls who will use the Bible and they'll gravitate towards the verses of fear and judgment. So eye for an eye over turn the other cheek. Man should not live with another man rather than we are not our gender.
Those are all in there.
Right.
Wow, that's powerful.
Faith alone will get you to to the kingdom of heaven, or faith without good works is dead. All these are correct on the other side of the veil. On this side of the veil, a lot of people think these are correct, and they're not. That was Old Testament. This is New Testament. And then eventually a soul gets so developed, it stops looking for God in a book altogether. And it starts exercising the vibration and love of God every day.
Walking that walk, living
Walking
that.
the walk of love.
Being that Christ consciousness.
Right.
Because that's, we always have a choice in everything we say, think, and do. And when we are embodying that Christ consciousness, then we are living that. We are living, breathing love bombs walking around.
Right.
Because that is that Christ consciousness. There is no separation.
Right.
We're all one.
Yeah.
And the second purpose of life is to create experiences, because that's one thing source cannot do. God cannot do that. God is a creator, creates all things. God's an energy source that creates all things through vibration. God cannot experience. Our job is to experience. So, knowing this, when you have a malfeasance against another human being, whether you created it through legislation or perpetrate it physically, that is felt by God. Every human creates experiences to take back home. God feels us at all times. So as an ICE agent commits a malfeasance against another human being, God feels that. God feels that family being torn apart over a system that is created to hurt people that are need the most.
Yeah, I personally, something that I get into a lot of the time with people on the other side of the aisle that like to weaponize the Bible. Sometimes they'll quote a verse that says, man is to follow all laws of the land. And that is a verse in there. But then I remind them that even allies of Jesus, his mother, Mary, and Mary Magdalene, both prayed for him when it was against the law.
Right.
And then, it usually gets somewhere into slavery was also legal and law of the land at one point too. Do you agree with that?
Right.
And it's usually either silence or they just double down, and I realize I'm talking to either a fascist or an authoritarian or someone who doesn't really truly either A, understand the Bible or two, understand the journey that was set out for them. And I mean, that's not my business, but
yeah.
Right. And people
to each
don't,
their own, but
right.
The age of soul will determine how they see the world, like I said, right? So you have a younger soul, and that soul comes here without the skills to overcome the ego and to overcome fear. So ego and fear drive that car, and the soul is in the back seat just along for the ride. Then eventually, the soul, after incarnation, the soul starts driving the car, and the fear and the ego take the back seat. So you were talking to people that were young souls, and that ego can never be wrong. So that's why you got silence, or they doubled down on what they just said, because the ego cannot be wrong. They don't want to learn. They want self-righteousness. An old soul wants wisdom, wants knowledge, and wants to do a better job tomorrow than they did the previous day.
Wow. Well, I mean, that speaks volumes because I am a life path 9. And I think that's definitely the creed that I live by. I try to make sure that I leave each space better than I found it. And I want to make sure even though I'm only 30, I feel like we all have each day to use to build our legacy of what we want to leave behind.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because even though, our shell leaves, our soul and the spirit that we can impress upon the world stays here.
Yes.
So I try to make sure that I keep that in mind with everything that I do, even in situations where, sometimes people up here in the high desert, they don't always see eye to eye.
Right.
And as some people know, it's super polar opposite politics up here. And as a delegate of Assembly District 39, I am, Democratic. I'm under Assemblyman Juan Carrillo's delegation, and it's amazing. I went to CADEM, which is our Democratic convention. It's amazing. It's so much fun. But then on the other side of it, too, I represent a lot of my clients and the people that I service in my nonprofit who, if I were to talk to them, they would, definitely not be as calm as you guys are on the other side of the mic.
Yeah.
So I have to sometimes, as far left maybe as my own personal politics might be, I try to stay as neutral and as empathetic to everybody as possible. And through that, I remind myself that essentially that's all Jesus really wanted too, as a master healer as well. He, would look his opposition in the face and be like,
Exactly.
I love you.
Right.
And I'm not that good, right? And I don't claim to be that good. I'm still working on it. But
that's why you're here, girl.
Exactly.
You're learning, growing, and developing. That's why we show up here on Earth School,
Right.
on Earth School. Oh,
yes, that's it's like, this is planet Earth. This is an Earth School. We're here to learn, grow, develop, have experiences, take those back home to the collective that we are all one of. So we leave our essence here, but we also bring all of that with us back home on the other side of the veil. Whether you call that heaven or just the next state of consciousness or another dimension, it doesn't matter. It's all the same place. We all come from the same source. We return to the same source. We're all one planet, one humanity, right?
Yeah.
But those younger souls, they're still seeing that division.
Right. And actually, I really feel sorry for the right. I really feel sorry for them because when they go back home, they'll be like, it's going to be so great. I took an oath to Jesus and I worship Jesus. It's like, you're not supposed to worship Jesus. You're supposed to follow Jesus. That's the big difference. That's the big difference. Quit worshiping, start emulating.
Walk
And
the walk.
instead of learning from the old souls, they'll actually start watching right-wing media, which ostracizes old souls. So instead of learning from the older sibling, right, they're ostracizing them, and they're actually just swirling in muck. Their hatred and anger just keeps them down.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to have a rude awakening when they return back home because you're not judged on how much you worshipped. You're judged on how you treated others.
Yeah.
Right.
And when people realize your soul isn't bound to any ethnicity, be very wary of who you judge because you will be there. You know what I'm saying? These questions have been asked on the other side of the veil. People have asked, why is my child gay? And it's always the same answer because that child was the other gender, 17 times in a row. And it still identifies. The soul dictates to the vessel. The vessel does not dictate to the soul. These are disposable. The soul is forever.
Right.
Like you said, it's just that shell. We don't take it with us when we go.
Right.
We don't take
Exactly.
our ego with us when we go. We take our soul and our consciousness.
Right. The older the soul is, the more progressive it becomes. The more equality is wanted by that soul because on the other side of the veil, we're all equal. We vibrate at different levels, but we're all loved equally. We all treat each other equally. There's no rich and poor, right? There's no ethnicities. We're all beings of light.
Yeah.
So the older soul, the more unity and compassion they have for other people. Even if the younger souls don't see it, it's true and it's the way we should be.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And sometimes I know we had talked about the book Oneness a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you were able to pick it up, but it's
Not yet.
amazing. And through that book, I also did some self-inventory and reflection. And I used to have a joke back in like 2020. And I said, like, what did I do in a past life to deserve being born in America? And then it, hit me like a freight train. And I said, well, maybe I was put here one, maybe to learn a lesson on privilege that I had not being here, things maybe that I took for granted in past lives, but also hopefully to be a tool towards like the way my soul knows that the world should be. As a white woman, I do feel like we have a lot of work to do, and there should be more expectation of us to get things done politically for every gender, every race, every walk of life.
For all people.
Right, exactly. And I sometimes look to my counterparts and wonder, like, do you not feel the same? And maybe sometimes we recognize our privilege in different levels. But I don't know, you know, maybe some of us are supposed to see certain things and go through certain things. And in the book, they're called triggers, not how we use them on social media today, but more so like, you know, something like a domino effect. And if I think back to the collective experiences I've had and the conversations I've had with different people, I don't really wonder why I am who I am now. I just hope that I can like impress upon them something to think about. You know, if they are a younger soul, I want to be able to like, you know, maybe give them something to evolve so that way they don't have to be the same youngness in the next lifetime. Because if we don't learn our lessons, if we just keep doing the same thing, you're just going to keep coming back and living the same life and wonder why you're more exhausted as a 20 or 30-year-old than other people your age.
Exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of old souls have decided to incarnate now in this country because as the United States goes, usually the rest of the world goes. So we are trying to transform this planet into more loving and accepting conditions. And it starts with the old soul stepping up, incarnating. And that's why you see the shift. That's why the right is so worried about the next generations coming up, because they don't identify as conservative. You know, it's a very small percentage. So they're trying to rig the votes so that they can stay in power. Because old souls will not degrade back down to a young soul. You know, that's why when you try to teach young souls, you can teach one that's kind of younger, but one that's only been here 5 times, forget it. One that's been here 50, maybe. You know, you're 30, but with 100 lifetimes behind you. You know, you have some people that are 70, but only 5 lifetimes behind them. So they don't have the capacity to learn algebra. They're only second graders. You know what I'm saying? You can't make huge jumps. You only teach little at a time to each individual.
And that's how we talk about like the age of soul. We talk about it like as if, you know, a younger soul, they're in preschool, they're in kindergarten. The older souls, they're maybe in 9th grade or 12th grade. You know, we don't look down and tell or the second grader or whatever. We don't tell them, oh, they're stupid because they don't know algebra, because they can't understand those things. It's just, oh, now I understand. Oh, you're an old soul. You just haven't learned that yet. Okay, I'll see you in, you know, X amount of lifetimes. We'll link up somewhere else and I'll catch you then. You know, we don't have to put any hate or anger or anything in them. The actions, sure, that sparks some energy within us. But we, again, having that mindset that we have a choice in everything we say, think, and do, you're literally out there with that mindset that I'm creating more karma for myself and the other people involved because we're all here together. How am I going to show up? I may not like what I'm seeing. I may not like this. I may not be able to get through to this person, but I'm going to do it with as much compassion and poise and neutrality as I can. Because what am I going to create? Am I going to create more anger and hate for the world?
Because God will feel that also.
Exactly.
If you put them down and treat them, you know, badly, God feels that. They don't care they do it to you because they don't have that realization that God feels everything you feel. Right. At all times. So, once we realize that they're a younger soul, they're still loved by God, they're just younger and they don't understand yet. Then we can take a breath and be like, okay, you know what? Let that one go. They'll learn it eventually on their time. Like, it's not on my time, it's on their time. I went through this many lifetimes to get where I'm at. I haven't always been here. I was, you know, first time here one time, you know? So we have that understanding that younger souls just aren't going to get it right away. Then we can step back and say, okay, what can I do to help the souls that want to learn? And we work from that.
Because some people, they ask us, well, how do I know how old my soul is? And what do we say?
Consideration for others.
Exactly. How do you treat others? How's your consideration, your compassion? How do you show up in the world? How'd you vote?
Right.
Yeah.
What are your beliefs?
Clock it. Yeah.
You know,
Like you said,
check yourself.
You
Take
leave
a
the
look.
place cleaner than when you found it, right?
Yeah.
Consideration for even the earth, the planet. Younger souls don't have consideration for the planet, even though God created it. Older souls do.
Okay.
Right.
Well, good to know. Good to know
Yes.
I'm in the right place.
So so that's the thing, you know, when we're out there in the community doing whatever we're doing, you know, meeting and greeting and speaking with people, keeping all these things in mind. The reason why we talk about this is because we want to be mindful of how we show up, because just because, you know, we're older souls doesn't mean that we can keep ourselves in check all the time.
Right.
We're going to become a little dysregulated, but that's how we do, that's why we do our mindful practice. You know, I live as much as I can in the Christ consciousness, and how I stay in that mindset to the best of my ability is by my spiritual practices, my meditation, my mindfulness, my prayers, my intention work, my gratitude work, my forgiveness work, my shadow work, all of that stuff. And I think the more that we can reach people wherever they're at and honor them on their journey, again, being that compassionate, loving older soul, it's going to help them to feel softer so that they don't feel like they have to fight as much, so that maybe they can actually hear and understand and feel what the rest of the people are trying to show them. We're not trying to fight against them.
Right.
We're trying to show them the way.
Right.
We're trying to show them a better mindset for all people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think when people realize it's not an opinion, it's God is love. Jesus taught love. Are you in alignment with love, or are you in alignment with fear and judgment and punishment? And when you break it that way, you're like, but the Bible, that's not for us right now. That was written for an old paradigm. And not all writers were in alignment with God's vibration of love. Jesus was, but not all the writers. Younger souls will identify with the verses of fear and judgment, and like I said, older souls, love and compassion. So,
and that's like the red letter,
right? The teachings of Jesus are in the red letters. The red letter Christians lean left, while regular Christians lean right. So,
yeah, it's. I don't want to say confusing. I don't want to say ridiculous, because that, you know, implies some sort of judgment, and that's not what I was put here for.
right?
But I would say in every policy and every vote, you know, every piece of legislation that people choose to have represent them, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people forget that when you are voting a certain way, it represents who you are.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know why it's such a mystery, but if you voted for Trump, or if you voted, you know, for Vance, because some people said that they liked Vance more than Trump. I don't know why. You know, that's their business. Then you have to understand that that tells me who you are. I don't, at the end of the day, you can sit there and say, oh, well, I voted him for this, but not this. Well, just like the Bible that they like to use, you don't get to cherry pick on what represents you and what you align with. You either, and I don't want to say you go all in or nothing at all, but for me, if I had to sit there and try to imagine, you know, being in the position of a moderate, or what we used to call moderates, I wouldn't understand how anyone can see both sides at this current stage and say, yeah, they're both correct, because it's so...
polar opposite.
Polar opposite, but it's also like, you know, black and white. It's just...
Right.
And it doesn't align well with what they claim God stands for.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I've never read the story of Mary and Joseph and been like, okay, now when does ice come in and rip that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's never the expectation in the Bible for Jesus' life. So why should we make that the expectation for God's children here?
Right. That brings me to the point of a lot of Christians will say they voted for Trump just for the economy. So you wanted a little bit more money in your pocket, even though he said he was going to punish these people, and punish those people over there. You chose greed, right? And in the Bible, it says, it doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
And you chose the love of money. Congratulations, you lost. You're coming back because you chose money over love. Those people are going to be punished so you can have a little cheaper gas. or lower price on eggs, or maybe better wages, whatever it was. You chose money over love. And you don't get to keep the money.
Right.
You don't get to take that with you.
You don't get to take the money.
And that's what I've asked some people too, because to your point, it's the economy. How's that worked out for you? Eggs are still $1 million a dozen, but also, with the Doge cuts, with everything, this funding cut back and this nonprofit and this school, I don't know if people realize that doesn't go back in our pockets.
No,
we don't suddenly get a federal minimum wage hike.
No.
Because they found waste, fraud, and abuse.
Right.
And it really makes me kind of ponder. So, 100-something days in, and you still are doubling down on the even more violent and aggressive rule that he's rolling out. But, all in the name of their own personal comfort. Because to me, that's not in the name of God or Christianity or even spirituality or whatever.
Right.
I used to be an atheist too, as well, and was still just as liberal. So I don't see the paradigm of using your religion to justify politics or using your politics to justify your religion.
The good thing is they don't have to justify it. They have the right-wing media to justify it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize, I ask people, how many commercials does Fox News have to sell to make a profit? And they're like, I don't know. It's zero. They get enough money from corporations to put stories up that make them look good and make everybody else look bad that they don't want to. Electric cars. I have an electric car. You know what I'm saying? I have solar panels. My electric bill is $9 and I run my car all day long. You know what I'm saying? So people are like, oh, we hate electric cars. I'm like, why? They're so cost effective when it comes to fuel or electricity. You know what I'm saying? And they put stories up making them look bad so you won't buy them so the fuel industry can keep going. You're following the needs of the corporations. The corporations have no soul. There is no benefit to that. There's no dividend that you'll receive on their side of the veil. But the people that were hurt in the process of you voting for these corporations, there's a dividend on that, or actually a retribution on that.
Yeah.
So you chose, like I tell people, you chose for fear and hate. You don't get to decide when it stops. It's going to keep going. Every time you vote for fear and hate, it's going to keep rolling until it runs out of steam.
And also, you don't get to decide when it does and does not affect you.
Right.
No.
You don't get to there's no opt-out button.
No.
This is not, when Meta
Wait,
sells
not
your
right
data,
now.
which, by the way, is right now.
Right.
But, yeah, I've had family members. My own grandmother has gotten into it with me the past couple of days. And I don't share this with everyone, but my stepdaughters have a maternal grandmother, who's a naturalized citizen. And maybe, about a month ago, she was at the senior center where they live, and they had to be locked inside because ICE was getting ready to raid the senior center.
Wow.
And
I thought she's MS-13, right?
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
They're
That's
all
definitely
at the senior center.
Oh,
they're hiding out, right?
100%. Yes. She's a stone cold criminal.
Right.
Oh, gosh.
Best Pasoli in the world, but criminal.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think people realize how close to home it is, right? Like that, you guys are only a few degrees separated from my stepdaughters who now have to live in fear when, not just when their grandmother goes out, but now with, the threat of birthright citizenship being removed, now their mom might be deported as well. And so me having to know what I know on the political side of things, but my mom heart and my mom love for them has to calm them down when they're at our house and explain to them I have to tell them it's going to be okay. And we'll pray and they'll do, they have their own beliefs as well. They have their crystals and they'll pray as well. But even with all that, it still doesn't calm the uncertainty. No. And it doesn't calm the anxiety of okay, my grandma's going to the store. Is this the last time I'm going to see her? It's that
fear of the unknown.
And they've asked me. And, we have a schedule where, week on, week off. And it's that week where they'll call back home and they'll ask hey, how's grandma? And at 13, imagine being 13. I know when we were all 13, we did not have to worry about that. At least not when I was. When I was 13, Prop 8 was getting put up. We were trying to give people more liberties and trying to give people equal freedoms to the rest of our country. And the fact that I have to look my kids in the face and say I'm so sorry this is the world
Right.
you live in.
Yeah.
And I'm doing everything I can to fight it, but it still doesn't qualm
Right. And
the worry.
No, and you can't.
And think about the ICE agents. When they go through their past life review, you feel everything you create, every action, every intent. So as they're just walking, and fear is going through the houses, they will feel that fear and be brought to their knees because that is God. That doesn't care if they have brown skin or not.
Right.
That is God also. Every one of them has a soul, has a consciousness, and is creating an experience to take back home. You're creating that for God. Congratulations. You abided by a law that doesn't exist to go against a law that does. That's love.
And they did it for one of two reasons. Either they say, well, I was just doing my job.
Right.
It was just my job. I just had to do that.
Which you chose.
But you chose.
Which they chose, right? But I
will.
couldn't make another choice. I had to do that job. Okay, fine. Or they did it because they enjoyed the search and the hunt and the hate.
Right.
Yeah.
Either one of those are not acceptable
Right.
choices
Right.
to do that to any human being.
Right. Same thing with a police officer. If you serve and protect, cool. But if you hunt and harm, God doesn't care if that's your job. You hunted and harmed a human.
Right.
Humanity first. That's what it is. It's not money first or anger first or hate first. It's humanity first. And when you go back home, you're always judged on, was it humanity first, love first, or was it not? That's the only law that exists.
Yeah, I've also brought that up to people, and I don't know if they see red or their blood like physically boils, but you would think I just like called them every name in the book, because when I remind them, like, God doesn't vote a certain party. God, first of all, not at all, but also political parties are man-made.
Right.
So the fact that any of us are doing mental gymnastics to use God to justify our, narrative of pushing hate is so beyond comprehension to me. And I'll explain to them, like, okay, so you think that the same God and same Jesus and the same followers of Christ who said XYZ are okay with people being ripped away from their jobs, no records, no criminal background, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, daughters, and sons, and that's who we're going to demonize and criminalize for existing? Who do we think created them? Who do we think gave them the idea to come here for a better life? Who do we think created the path for them to get here safely?
Exactly.
Right. And they're followers of Jesus too, are
Right.
they not?
Exactly.
Most of them are Catholic, right?
Yes.
Followers of Jesus.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So followers of Jesus ostracizing other followers of Jesus. Why? Right-wing media.
And I've also brought up the point, and I think this is very interesting. I've asked people, we have a lot of people from Iran and other Middle Eastern countries who came to America to be able to freely practice Christianity and other teachings of Christ without being persecuted. So I'll ask right-wingers, so how do you feel about ICE agents ripping Christians from their home that only have that home? They only came here to be able to follow and love Christ freely. And you're sending them back to a country, well, first of all, to Alligator Alcatraz, and then back to their country where they're going to die just for following Christ. But I thought this was a Christian nation.
Right.
Always silence. Always silence.
It's not, has nothing to do with it. It has to do with brown and white.
Yeah.
That's all it has to do with.
And but I love using that point when they say it has nothing to do with that. Really?
Let's
break
Show
this
me
down.
how.
Exactly.
Right. And they get silenced because their ego cannot be wrong. So they will not respond to it. They're led by ego and self-righteousness, not by love and compassion. Younger souls always follow the same playbook.
Yeah. And
So
I think when some of them, because, not all hope is lost for all of them.
Right.
But when you see the wheels turning and they say, oh, wait, no, I don't want other Christians to be removed. I'm like, so then what do you think you voted for? What do you think your Congress people, J.O. Renalty, and all these other people that represent us here locally and nationwide, what do you think they're standing for? They're representing you, and you allowed that. You voted for them to represent you. And when they don't do something that personally, aligns with what you believe, you don't call them out on it, but you're going to sit here and be mad at me for trying to fix it for the rest of everyone else.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
What an ass backwards way of trying to get progress done. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, it's not, I don't want to say progressive, but it's just, it doesn't do anything for your cause, whether you're left or right.
Right. And that's the problem, is that people are like, well, I follow the teachings of Jesus. Okay, cool. But you go home every day and you watch Fox News for 3 hours a night. You got 15 hours of Fox News compared to 1 hour at church. And most of the time, they don't even cover the red letters. They don't even cover the teachings of Jesus. They cover the teachings of whatever they want to teach that day, right? So you got 15 hours compared to 1. Parents are so worried about their kids playing violent video games and becoming violent, right? But that you watch hate news. That's what's coming. That's what happens. You end up being hateful. Hateful towards liberals and Democrats and Chinese and LGBTQ and immigrants. I mean, the hatred just keeps increasing. Guess where you're going to have to go to learn compassion for all these people? Everywhere. Because you have to learn by being. So you're going to be an immigrant that's ostracized. So you learn compassion for other immigrants that are ostracized. The reason why the liberals are compassionate is because they've gone through all these processes. They've done the work. They've been ostracized. They've been immigrants before, and they have compassion. They've been black before. They've been Chinese. That's why they don't have that same level of prejudice. People that are hardcore white, prejudiced people are going to have to move around to other ethnicities. Because if they don't, and they stay white, their prejudice will get stronger and stronger and stronger, and they'll move farther and farther away from God's love. So they have to make the transition to other ethnicities eventually.
That's powerful. Yeah, I think. Maybe it's a spiritual theory, but I would say that maybe having past life reading. I've had past life readings, and I think learning not about who you are right now, but the person that has, or the soul that has evolved through all these different eras and lifetimes, I think that teaches you more about yourself internally as well, because if you are just going around life aimlessly listening to faux news, as me and my husband like to call, and you're just waiting for someone to tell you what to believe, you're not going to ever evolve to something greater than what you have in front of you. And to your point, Fox News, I think I have a TV, on YouTube TV, there's an option where you can have like 4 channels playing at once. And my TV knows me. And it's like, do you want to watch these 3 news channels that you watch all the time? And then there's this other one you might like, and it's always Fox News. It always tries to recommend it. Right. And I'm like, that's fine. Let's watch it. And I'll sit there and, for the most part, 2 or 3 of the other media will be focusing on like world events and things like that. And Fox is literally like using language and verbiage to put people into that fear mode. It's just, I don't want to say they're gaslighting them, because you would have to believe something else in order to be gaslit in the first place.
Yeah.
But you at least myself, I get like an idea of, this is the reality that they live in. Everyone's evil. No one is like you. You're the best. It's Trumpisms, 100%. But it's also, I think, programming of stagnation. And
that's a very good way to put that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's lobbyism, 100%. Like, you mentioned earlier the corporations and Rupert Murdoch and the few people that control that side of the media. Right. But it's also, I think, it's supply and demand. So it's a circle of feeding people what they're asking to be fed.
Yes.
And also making sure your advertisers are kept happy. But what does that do in the long run?
Right.
What effects does that have on us in terms of how we treat other people and how we understand ourselves and love ourselves?
Right.
I do feel that the projection people put onto others is 100% how they feel about themselves.
Right. So I've examined this. The most dangerous job in the world is Fox News host. That is the most dangerous job in the world. But they live luxurious lives, right? This is temporary. On the other side of the veil, when you mouth words that created fear, judgment, and made people want to punish others, that to millions of people, when you go back home and you watch your past life review, the waves of hate that come off of your words, because you created them, is going to be so detrimental to their souls. And they don't realize it. It's going to be so painful when they feel the anger and hatred that comes off of every single night they come on to millions of people across the world, because it's a worldwide channel. So
Yeah.
it's going to be so bad for them. When you die in a coal mine, you died once. Fox News host is going to die a million times on the other side of the veil.
I hope so. No. I mean, yeah.
It's a system of justice God created. Past life review tells no lies.
Right.
And you have no ego to defend yourself.
You can't hide from it, right?
The ego stays with the body. So it's just your soul naked by itself, choosing fear and judgment for those Fox News hosts. They took the money instead of taking the love. So I'd like to have you back again.
Absolutely.
And I would like to talk about the repercussions of Trump's actions. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
And he's in a world of hurt when he returns back home.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Right. I know that the right, the religious right wants to support him, but he's not on the side of God. He may be on the side of religion and religious ideals, but he's not on the side of God.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for this very, very informative, amazing episode today. Caitlin, is there anything else that you would like to share, or anything, closing statements or anything?
Well, other than thank you, I just want to remind everyone to, as I said earlier, leave the world a better place, leave each space better than how you saw it, and love one another.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you guys so much for watching. And as we love to say, always have love and laughter in your heart and keep moving forward. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.